All right, so we talked a little bit about you coming up with a basketball in your hand. Talk about high school and kind of how you progressed to, okay, I'm a good high school player, but I'm going to be in this game for a long time.
Yeah. So my high school path was a little interesting. I started off at a really high level basketball Catholic school, and just realized it wasn't like the best fit for me with what I wanted to do with basketball. So I eventually transferred to the school where my dad was the coach, which was wild.
Interesting, I bet. Yep.
Have crazy stories during my senior year, which really showed me a lot. But there was a point where he actually was out for a while, so I kind of had to learn my footing without him there as my coach. And then also I got a season ending injury my senior year, so
Got it.
the end of that, when he came back, I was able to then be another coach on the bench. So I think that that really showed me that I always knew I wanted to be a coach just because it was in my family, but that I knew not what I was doing because no one knows what they're doing, but I
Right.
had an idea. And that kind of meant more to me than actually playing basketball, which I thought was interesting. But I knew I wanted to play at the next level too. And college was just, I wanted to continue playing basketball because that's all I ever knew. And it was the best time of my life doing that. So,
No, no doubt, no doubt. And I love that. I think I was the same way with sports growing up, baseball, basketball, football. Like if your parents do it, you kind of do it, right? If you have siblings that do it, you jump into it.
of
All
course.
right, got it. So we got into college, we went through all that. But then talk about college coaching, right? So walk me through the timeline because I followed it online. I didn't know how long you were coaching. So walk me through and walk our listeners through.
Yeah, I've been around a while. It makes me sad, actually.
Oh, stop it. I just didn't know you were coaching so many teams. Go ahead.
Yeah, so well, I went to college at Rowan University, and it was the best 4 years of my life. If you ask any person that I work with or anyone around me, they know that. I talk about it constantly. But then I was able to work at a Division II school in Philadelphia, Holy Family University, for my first stop, and we were a perennial powerhouse. They were a top 25 team. So once you kind of start at that, it's like kind of another world.
Right.
We didn't lose. It was these girls that just wanted to win all the time, playing the best D2 teams in the country, flying places. Like we traveled a lot, and the school was basketball, 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 and especially women's basketball, which I found doesn't really happen in a lot of places. So I thought that was great. I then got the opportunity to come back home to New Jersey, which was important to me. So I got to be a D1 assistant at Fairleigh Dickinson University.
Mm-hmm.
Um, where I actually knew the coach because it was kind of in my backyard. That wasn't far from where I grew up. And that was a great experience for me too, just to be at the D1 level and know like the travel, the workouts, the
Right.
non,
The grind of it all.
oh my
Yeah.
God, it's never ending and it's only increasing now. And then I was offered a D3 head coaching job in the league that I had played in. So I kind of knew that was a no-brainer if I wanted to be a head coach. Was there for 7 years. We did a lot of great things there, and it taught me a lot. And being a head coach and being an assistant are totally different things. And it was pretty cool to put that all together. But I also had a lot of people helping me.
Yeah, no doubt. Talk about that support group, right? Like I know being a former 22-year-old assistant coach at a nationally ranked program, some days I looked around and I have no idea what I'm doing. So talk about your support group in basketball, what they've meant to you.
Yeah, I was lucky too, whereas some of the girls that I played with in college ended up coaching too or refereeing and just kind of stayed in that world.
Right.
So that was great. My best friend growing up also got into coaching, so that was great.
Oh,
Um,
perfect.
yeah, but towards the end, actually, a lot of them were getting out of coaching. So that almost was weird too, because then I didn't have that support group anymore.
Right.
So like those last couple of years coaching, it was really difficult because who do I ask? Who do I go to? And it was more on like a woman's front, like I had a
Right.
lot of, again, my husband was a coach, my dad was a coach, like great, but it's different for women too. So I think that
Yes.
that became a little difficult towards the end, just not having enough people around anymore that were in the business. So, you
Yeah.
know, you really do need that group of strong people that understand what you're doing too, because a lot of people don't get the basketball or
Of
anything,
course not.
so I think that that was vital to me being any bit successful.
Yeah, for sure. And I get it too. Marrying into that now, like men's and female athletics is completely different.
Yeah.
The day-to-day and the grind and kind of the different struggles that men have compared to what women have. That's the thing. Talk about working with your athletes. Like, what did you run into? Like, how did you try to help on the mental health front?
Yeah, that was honestly really eye-opening maybe, and
Right.
probably just because we didn't talk about it when we were younger, and now
Mhm.
it's so much more prevalent, and I'm so thankful for that.
Yeah.
Because it has helped me in many ways too. But I dealt with a lot. I think more as a head coach, like as an assistant coach, yeah, you're there and it's support. And of course, I think the players talk to you probably a little bit more, but as a
Yes.
as a head coach, you have to really think of their well-being and their situations. And, I worked in an area that wasn't, you know, great sometimes. And I had dealt with some really tough stories. And then during COVID, I was a coach. Like that was unbelievable, just dealing with people ill, us being scared if we were going to be sick,
Right.
girls on the court not knowing what to do. It just, yeah, I really, I find nowadays, and me and my husband do talk about this. When we were going to college, they said, go be a phys ed teacher if you want to be a coach, like that was,
Right. That's what I did. Yeah.
and
Same thing.
now I did the same. And now it's go probably do psych, do something where
Right. So
learn
you're ready
about
for
people.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I never even thought of it like that. But I think now in 2024, like those connections with athletes, why we started the podcast, obviously, like you don't know what these kids are going through. And at a
No,
time like COVID, my fiance was still playing college athletics during COVID. Like there was a lot of layers to it.
mhm.
And when you don't have all the answers yourself, it's really hard. And I think from a coaching perspective and a student athlete perspective, it was just a crazy time.
It was.
So I guess the lesson I'd take away from that, like being involved in college coaching and having a direct tie to college student athletes at that time, was like, you don't know what anybody's going through.
Mhm.
And two, you have to accept the help, because
Yeah.
if you don't accept the help, it's really tougher to get better on your own, is what I've come to realize for sure.
Yeah, and I think that I almost found the student athletes were more open to that again because maybe they're younger than like my own friends, like I still am
Right.
begging some of my friends to do the right not do the right thing, but do what is going to help them, like you just said, accept the help. So I really I do find that it has become again more prevalent, and people are more accepting of it, thankfully, to this younger generation, so I'm excited for that part of it too.
I agree. I think it came with some benefits, right? It
Yes.
wasn't, and I'm not a glass half empty guy. Like glass half full, it came with a lot of good things too. Like now we know how to handle it. We know that we need someone in these locker rooms, in these court
Yes.
settings, these field settings to really help athletes. I think it saved a lot of lives. So you
Yes.
look back at those down times and go, okay, there was some light out of that darkness for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it showed colleges, and I think, even people that have been in athletics but didn't really understand athletics as much, there are people in those higher
Right.
positions,
Oh
what
yeah.
needs to be done, and what needs what athletes need for support. And I think there's so much more nowadays, which is amazing.
Yeah. And let's students pave their path. I think it's my favorite conversation I get. And my brother dealt with it in one of his past relationships. Like, oh, so you're a baseball coach. Oh, but like, what do you do besides that?
Yes. Do you
Oh,
teach?
how the best question of all time. And when you go, no, 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 like I'm working 70, 80 hours. I am a college, they just don't get it. Right. So I think that opened up those conversations. Like you said, that was a great point with those higher ups to be like, okay, this is so crucial. It's more than just X's and O's and winning ball games and winning games in competition. It's molding men, it's molding women for sure.
Yeah, and I think that included them adding then mental health professionals to even a
Right.
lot of these coaching staffs, which has been unbelievable.
Yeah, I love it. And I mentioned my fiance earlier at Stony Brook, they had someone on staff. And I look back at my days at the D3 level and in junior college and go, wow, like, how did we deal with our problems? I could tell you there weren't good ways. They weren't good ways,
Yeah,
is what I would
right.
tell
I
you.
totally agree.
Yeah, crazy stuff. Okay, gotcha. So we touched on that. I think there was a big benefit there. But if you've listened to any of our podcast episodes, if you've ever been on our social media pages, we ask our guests what their keep going moment is. Because honestly, Coach Ashley, you are very positive. You are very bubbly. You have a great experience in this game of basketball, but it's not always been good times. Talk about your keep going moment.
Yeah, well, I mean, I thank you for saying all those things, but those
Of
are
course,
also,
I mean that.
yes, but they're also, I don't want to say coping mechanisms, but I struggle too. And I think that, you know, fake it till you make it, of course,
Right?
that's a really good one to help. But my keep going moment, I mean, truthfully, I have struggled with my mental health like throughout my whole basketball career and didn't know, and I think that's what the major part was. So like when I was younger, I would be having panic attacks during a game and I thought it was asthma, so it was like, in our brains, it didn't make sense. So I think that when I got to college, my sophomore year, actually, we were in a drill and I was doing really good. And my coach gave me like great affirmation where like you did awesome, that was incredible, and
Right.
I couldn't handle that because the good was too hard for me to handle too.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if that was and that was the moment where I went, I think I should probably talk to someone because that's not that normal.
Right.
I didn't see other people doing that. And oddly, I don't know why that was easy for me because in college during my time, a lot of people did not do that. But I would say maybe that was something that was a realization to me at least, that was my, you know, you could get through this with help. But I needed that help. And I think that's probably the hardest part is realizing that.
That is hands down, one of the most vulnerable keep going moments I've had on this podcast. Because wow, I'm taken back by that. Here's what I'll say. At the end of the day, I think people don't realize that you can be overwhelmed by good things.
Yes.
That's the thing. I don't think we've ever really talked about it in depth, like you just explained it.
Yeah.
You can be drowning in really amazing opportunities and good things.
Yeah.
And I think as we go on here in the mental health community, in mental health with sports, you can have a lot of great things. You're on scholarship. You're on this new NIL culture. You're making great money. You might have a great looking boyfriend or girlfriend. Like your social media has never been better. And you're going back from the cafeteria or training tables and you're like, this isn't what I want at all.
Yeah.
And I'm glad you brought that up. And I'm going to kind of have you double down on it. Like for athletes that are feeling that way, right? The everyday grind, the good, the bad, or indifferent, like what would you tell them? Like if you were back in their shoes?
Yeah, I think that's what's hard too. Because again, like you can tell people stuff, but it's really got to come from within and
Yeah.
you have to
Yeah.
realize, but I think talking helps. Like again, like I'm so open. I do not care. You can ask me about any of my struggles
I
with,
know that. And I love
know?
you for that. I love
Yeah,
you for that.
because I
Yes.
think it's important though too. And look at like Simone Biles in the last Olympics.
Yes.
She has a new Netflix special. I haven't watched it yet, but it's supposed to be great. And it's
Mm-hmm.
specifically about when she dropped out because and look, like she has all these great things too. So I think that's kind of showing the side of it too. You can have all of this but the pressure is there no matter what. Even if it's being told you're doing good, that's still like pressure in some way. Like
Oh, yeah.
don't stop being good because you're doing good.
Yeah.
So I really, really, again, I'm so lucky. I had amazing teammates. I was around really good people always. But I think, and in ways, I think I helped other people get help, which I think I'm most proud of that probably.
I think you did too. And I think having these conversations with
Mhm.
your teammates, with your players, with your coaches, with your admin staff, I think, and obviously with your job today, still working with hundreds and
Yeah.
thousands of athletes, you have every conversation to continue to do this. And I think that's powerful. And I think people that have this platform have a lot of power, like
Yeah.
to be with an organization like NCSA, to have a podcast like this, to have a whole generation, decades of coaches in your family
Yeah.
comes with a lot of pressure. And I think
Yeah.
you're one of the people and a person in your family to go do it and continue to make that impact. So I appreciate you for doing that.
Thank you, Pat. I appreciate you.
No, of course. And I go back to it's all about the kids. It's all about the athletes. And the second that it goes any different direction, you probably shouldn't be in that profession anymore.
Yeah, yeah. And I think too, like, and I'm speaking of putting pressure on kids, but I really do think that like the younger generation is gonna make waves and change a lot of different things. And we've seen it already, you know, so I can only hope that it continues that. You know, I have like 11-year-old cousin and she's so open in the way she talks and you know, about feelings and all of that stuff. So it's even just to see that it's already changing. So it makes me happy in those ways.
I completely agree. And like I mentioned before, I know you are on vacay. I know this is time off, which we're a mental health podcast. Like it's
Yes.
not, I'm not going to say we're going to go another hour on here because that would be against everything I
We
believe in.
could though. We could. I
Oh,
would.
oh, I know we could. I know how impactful your story is and what we're touching on. What I like to do with our co-hosts, I know Dave isn't here today, is we like to give you some questions and just get to know you better. So
Yeah.
the first question I have, you know, obviously I know you from an NCSA light. I know you have as a coworker. Talk to me about what mental health means to you. Like going forward, what would you like to see happen in the mental health world?
I think. I mean, this is going to be a bold statement, but free therapy for everyone. I
Oh
mean,
my goodness. How great would
yeah,
that be?
yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know how realistic that is, but I mean,
Hey, glass half full.
yes,
And
yeah,
if you're someone on here that's been back and forth about therapy, back and forth about talking to someone, there it is.
yeah. I know. You just got to find the right one too. Keep looking.
I agree. I jumped on the athletic school podcast and I said something that got quoted and clipped. I said, if Tom Brady can go to therapy, you can go to therapy.
Yes, yes. Look at
Yeah.
Michael Phelps too. I like
No
what he
weakness.
always.
Yeah.
Oh,
There's no weakness to it. I
yep.
agree. I think that's beautiful. I think talking out your issues with a trusted adult, with an accountability group, I think is so crucial. Love
Yep.
it. Love it. Awesome. Second one, obviously, you've been in the highest ranks of collegiate basketball. You have an athlete out there trying to get to that point. They want to start today. What do you do?
Oof.
Tough one. Tough one.
Yeah. It's really like the world of sports has changed, and probably the things that I would have said 2 years ago are even different now.
Changed. Yeah.
Um, you know, I think support is huge and not everybody has that, so that's really difficult too. But I think just you have to work your butt off. I don't think people get that, and you can't even say it any other way. To be the best is really, really hard. You know, we talk about with basketball at NCSA and anywhere, but any high school athlete to play in college at any level, it's such a small percentage. And I really don't think people understand that and what it takes. You know, it just it's so hard being out there, you know, making sure that you do. I really do think the mental health, because going back, thinking about my younger years and what I would do to myself and just say to myself, you know, looking back, I really think that if I had the tools that could help with that, probably would have put me in a better headspace. And I don't know if that would have helped me athletically, you know, but it would have helped me at least be able to overcome some things probably that were not that big of a deal, but to me they were. So yeah, I would say get out there. You know, you have to play all the time. I don't think you get that too.
Right.
Um, and just be aware of your like who's around you too. I think people can bring you down. That's really hard too. Make sure
Yeah.
you find the right fit on teams that you're on. I was always really lucky. I had great experience on teams, but I know a lot of people don't have that anymore.
Yeah. Two things. There's no substitute for the work.
Mhm.
And there's nothing more that can bring you down than the people that you hang out with that don't have the same goals and aspirations as you.
Yeah, and that's really hard
And
too for
yeah,
high school athletes, I think.
it is. I know I was the same way. I'm not hypocritical. Hand up, accountability. I could have done things differently too. So hang out with people that have the basketball in your hand. They're going to late night dinners with you and they're talking about what their goals and dreams are. And people that you look back, and I look back now, I'm getting married not this October, but next October. And I look back and the guys that were with me through those times are in my wedding.
Yes,
It's
yes.
amazing. It's
I love
amazing. I'm
it.
I'm blessed to talk about it. So for athletes, trust from the old people in here today.
Yeah.
trust. I can't believe we're even saying that, but like trust the people that have been through this, because it's the experience that will carry you and the people that carry you on your down days. That's for sure.
It is for sure.
Love it. Love it. Last thing, kind of a goofy one, but talk about someone that's impacted you. Talk about someone that has picked you up on those down days, someone that's been an inspiration.
Ooh. This is hard because there's so many like and different, I really think I've been super lucky. Again, my family has always been all in. Like we kind of talked about before, a lot of people don't understand the profession. So, it might not be a big deal to be a college coach or something like that. But again, I surrounded myself with people that understood it.
Right. They got the grind every day. Yep.
Yeah. But I think probably again, like kind of telling you that some of my closest friends were coaches at the same time as me. And probably my high school, not my high school, my college teammate Gina, who's still one of my best friends. She is
Shout
now,
her out. I need a full name if we're going shout outs.
I'll go Gina Catanzariti, and she was
Shout her out. Love it.
an assistant at a bunch of places, but now she's a G League ref and, aspiring.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah, really cool stuff. But she could understand what I was going through too. So like we always had each other. We still do. Again, she's on the reffing side of it now. I'm on the recruiting and helping student athlete side of it. But we still have a lot of similarities and can like help each other with things like that. So I would probably say she's been there for me since, I mean, I don't want to give away how long I've been out of college now.
I'm not going to make you. I'm not going to make you. No, I love it. Well, shout her out. I mean, I think that's awesome. I think, like I mentioned before, people in the community that are still helping you and they can still talk things out, because goodness, there are things that you just have to vent about right now in basketball and in baseball with everything changing day to day, right? With these new rules and what they're kind of putting kids through. So if these kids are not equipped to go through it,
Yep.
how are they expected to play college athletics?
It's really hard.
It really is.
Yeah.
Here's what I'll say. I, from the bottom of my heart, appreciate you, because you did not have to jump back on. I know you're on vacay. I know there's a lot of stuff going on in your world. I am blessed and honored to have someone like you with your experience talk to us today.
Thank you, Pat. I appreciate you. And I am happy to come back on at any time you want.
No, you are amazing. And I might tap you on the shoulder. We've had some co-host changes if you follow our socials over the last couple of weeks, but I might tap you on the shoulder to come back on as maybe a co-host guest at some point. We'll see.
I like it. I like it.
I like you, and I appreciate you a bunch, and go enjoy your vacay. Go take some time for your mental health, and above all else, keep going. Okay.
Thanks, Pat. I hope you have a great day.
Appreciate you. You too.
See ya.